Joining me now is one of the president's top economic advisors, the director of the National Economic Council, Kevin Hassett. Thank you so much for joining me. Really appreciate it. Thank you. Well, let me ask you about this social media post by the president this morning, Mr. Trump, saying that China violated a deal with the U.S. He repeated that claim you just heard there in the Oval Office. What is the violation, and is the president, in fact, planning to put tariffs back on as a result?
Well, the bottom line is that there's an ongoing negotiation that the U.S. Trade Representative Jameson Greer is in contact, as is the Secretary of Treasury Scott Bessent, with their Chinese counterparts. And I think that there is some frustration with the pace of the sort of China moving forward with the things that they've agreed to. And I think that it's appropriate at a time like that to talk about your frustrations, because that's how things get communicated and how things change. And so we're very hopeful that this will be worked out soon. But yes, I think that there's a lot of frustration with the pace of what China's been doing.
Director Hassett, just to be very clear, given that frustration, could President Trump reimpose tariffs at a higher rate on China?
President Trump and everybody on President Trump's team are hoping that this deal that was negotiated in Geneva, that the things that were put in place are accomplished and accomplished quickly. And that's what everybody's focused on right now.
Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent said the talks with China are stalled right now. Is that an accurate assessment?
I think that he put a few words around the word stalled, because stalled would mean that they're stopped. But I think we're absolutely frustrated that they're moving slower than we would like. And I'm sure that that's what he was meaning to characterize.
He said they're a bit stalled.
A bit stalled, that's what I'm saying. Yeah,
to be
a
accurate.
bit stalled.
So,
so it's not exactly
okay.
stalled. It's just moving slower than we would like.
Okay, let's talk about the International Court of Trade ruling. I talked to Stephen Moore yesterday, who you're familiar with. Of course, he was an economic advisor to President Trump during the 2016 campaign. He told me he's not confident the Trump administration would prevail if this goes to the Supreme Court, because the Constitution says that tax bills must start in the House. Does he have a point?
No, Steve's completely wrong on this. And the bottom line is that Jameson Greer, the U.S. Trade Representative, is the smartest trade lawyer person in America on earth. He knows this stuff cold. We have a million options for how we could do the tariffs that President Trump wants in order to start opening up markets around the world and to get reciprocal trade policy to be enacted. We have a million options, and we chose this option because it's the one that's the fastest and the most legally sound. And so we're very confident that that we're going to prevail in court eventually, and we're very disappointed when it had a hiccup for a day. And I actually was sort of surprised when the reversal happened yesterday. I was surprised it even took them that long, because it was so obvious that we're on really solid ground legally.
You know, it was interesting, Director Hassett, you said at the White House yesterday you weren't worried about economic uncertainty. I do want to put up what we heard from the Fed at minutes released from their May meeting. I'll read this. It says participants agreed that uncertainty about the economic outlook had increased further, making it appropriate to take a cautious approach until the net economic effects of the array of changes to government policies become clearer. That's pretty clear there, that there is some uncertainty, is it not?
Well, obviously, the bill has to pass in the Senate, and then it has to become law. So the big, beautiful bill, there's perhaps uncertainty for some about that, but we're highly, highly confident that that's going to happen and that it's going to provide a massive boost to the U.S. economy. I think that President Trump's trade policy is very, very clear. That we've started to have deals that give people an idea of what it's going to look like in the future. And so I think that people know what to expect. And that's why consumer sentiment just jumped by about the most it ever has, why we got a report today that showed that incomes are soaring, and why the jobs numbers have been so good while inflation's going down. And so I think that we're highly, highly confident that we've got a plan that's going to create a golden age for the economy. And you're starting to see it in the hard numbers as well.
You're touting a lot of different data points in the economy. Is this now the Trump economy, Director Hassett?
There's always a question of, so there are policies that are in place that President Biden put in. And so the question is, why is the economy right now starting to boom? And the reason is that people are confident that President Trump has changed the trajectory and is bringing us to a place where, for example, in the first quarter, we had 20% equipment investment, 10% capital spending because everybody's building factories in the U.S. again. All of that is happening because of President Trump. But of course, there are things that are going on in the economy that aren't just because of President Trump.
Now, what do you say to people
thing.
who say you can't have it both ways, Director Hassett?
What do you mean?
That you can't just pick the pieces of the economy that you like and say that President Trump owns that, but not the pieces that we don't like.
Well, the thing is that what you have to do is you have to have a reason for the things that you're analyzing. And so, for example, in the State of the Union address or the joint session, President Trump said that we're going to pass the big, beautiful bill and we're going to have expensing of capital investment, and it's going to be retroactive to the 20th of January. And then all of a sudden we get a 20% boom in capital spending. And so when you see that there's a reason for something that happens, and then you see that the thing happens, as you have an ex-ante theory and an ex-post realization of the data, then you've got a good story. But if you don't have a good story, then you shouldn't say it.
Let me ask you about President Trump's meeting with Fed Chair Jerome Powell at the White House yesterday. I want to put up the Fed's readout. Chair Powell said that he and his colleagues will set monetary policy as required by law to support maximum employment and stable prices, and will make those decisions based solely on careful, objective, and non-political analysis. You were in the Oval Office, sir. Did President Trump push him to lower interest rates?
You know, President Trump and Chairman Powell had a very collegial and friendly discussion. And President Trump's views about interest rates are obviously quite visible in his previous posts on Truth Social. I'm not going to talk about what we talked about in the Oval, but I 100% agree with Chairman Powell's statement.
Very quickly, just on the big, beautiful bill, Elon Musk, of course, his final day at the White House today, even though the president says he'll still be close. He has expressed real criticism of the big, beautiful bill, noting that it will add to the deficits. He says can't be big and beautiful at the same time. And quite frankly, he's echoing what we're hearing from a number of Republican senators on Capitol Hill, from Senator Ron Johnson to Senator Rand Paul. What is your response to your Republican critics, and how do you get it over the finish line?
Look, we respect the legislative process. The House has a bill. The Senate is putting forward a bill. There are folks that are disappointed that the House didn't cut enough. There are probably going to be people in the Senate that are trying to cut more. And the bottom line is that whatever happens in this bill, that's not the end of reducing government waste, that it's going to continue to happen, that right now, Russ Vogt at the Office of Management and Budget is rolling up a bunch of the stuff that Elon discovered that is very, very wasteful spending. We're beginning to send packages up to the House or to the Senate for people to rescind it. And the bottom line is that those rescissions are going to continue to happen for the next 4 years. And so if you're disappointed in the path of spending in these bills, then you shouldn't be, because there's going to be so much more that comes in the future as well.
Just to be very clear, though, you acknowledge what the CBO says, what other analysts have said, that this will add trillions of dollars to the deficit.
No, I don't acknowledge that, because the bottom line is that the CBO estimate is conditional on 1.8% economic growth, which is ludicrous. I think we're going to get at least 3% growth because of all the economic stuff that's in the bill. But the other thing that the CBO isn't doing is they're not even running a counterfactual that makes any sense. So if the bill doesn't pass, then there's going to be the biggest tax hike in history, which is going to cause a deep recession, which itself would increase the deficit enormously because of all the social welfare payments that we would have to make. And so I think you have to think about what's the counterfactual. And the bottom line is, if you think that we're going to have growth in the ones, then the CBO numbers are something that you should think about. If you think we're going to have growth around 3, then the bill doesn't add to the deficit at all. So the question is, what do you think, and why do you think that about growth? That's the way we should think about that.
Okay, it's worth noting it's not just the CBO, it's the Joint Committee on Taxation, it's the Committee for a Responsible Federal Budget. But this is what you said about the CBO back in 2017. You said the staffs of the Congressional Budget Office and the Joint Committee on Taxation have a level of technical expertise that is difficult for any institution to match. The depth and breadth of expertise at CBO and JCT, the Joint Committee on Taxation, are virtually unmatched. Right. You're now saying that they're wrong?
No, I'm saying that they're wrong about this score. But don't forget that this score doesn't include growth effects. And so there are people at the CBO that are brilliant about modeling growth effects, but this score does not include growth effects. And so in the end, whether this tax bill is great for the economy and great for the budget is going to depend on the growth effects. And the Joint Tax Committee and the CBO are not including growth effects in this analysis. And so it's not inconsistent at all. In fact, way back when I was in graduate school, I used to hang out at the Joint Tax Committee because one of my best friends was chief economist there. And so I know Tom Barthold, who runs the Joint Tax Committee. I have a great deal of respect for him. But this is not about whether they're able to do a static score competently. They are. This is a question of what's the actual truth. And the truth is going to depend on what happens to growth. And I have a view of growth that is based on my experience from 2017, where we told you we'd get 3% growth, and then we did.
Okay. All right. Kevin Hassett, thank you so
Thanks,
much
Kristen.
for joining us.
Here.
Really appreciate it. Hope you have a great weekend.
Thanks for watching. Stay updated about breaking news and top stories on the NBC News app or follow us on social media.